Hello, everybody, and welcome into a Football Friday in October. Good afternoon. Just the third day of October, Michigan back in action, getting ready to host Wisconsin tomorrow at the Big House, and we're here to talk about it. You got to do something between now and noon, to kill the time, get ready for another Michigan football game. This is as good as any place to take down the time because we're going to be discussing what you are thinking about as the game approaches tomorrow. As always, we take your feedback and look what's top of mind for you. Right before I came on here, I noticed that the selection of the uniforms was made public. Michigan wearing their all blues with the maize numbers, and that's the classic uniform. I vote yes for those. Looks pretty good from where I'm sitting now. You've got Michigan losing a wide receiver. We'll hit that. I've got a prediction for you. And we are going to start with the game coming up tomorrow. That's top of mind. But there's two things that I wanted to say. That one just came down. It's official. I think last year, somebody's podcast, I don't remember which one. If I did, I would say it. They said that Trey Burke's number was going to get retired by Michigan this year. And today, it became official. That is going to happen on January the 23rd. Michigan will host Ohio State, and Trey Burke, who is from Ohio, his number 3 will go up to the rafters, and that's well-deserved. Trey Burke, he was as good as it gets. Not highly recruited, not a big name, but an immediate impact. I can recall watching the first game. I don't know who it was against, but I watched him and I said, this guy is awesome right off the bat. I mean, that part's weird when it comes to recruiting and everything else. Like, so what did, John Beilein was good at finding diamonds in the rough, but you put a player out there and you get all these players. I don't know how many players were in front of Trey Burke, 100, but within 5 minutes of watching Trey Burke, it's like, this guy's great. This guy looks great. So I don't know. It's interesting when it plays out like that, when you have a guy that nobody really, had as, a future star comes in, and then is an immediate future star. But, John Beilein had a lot of players like that. Not quite the, Trey Burke status. I mean, who is? But there was a few. Karis LeVert, who's now with the Pistons. He was another one. You could probably go down and probably sit around for 10 minutes and probably pull out 10 guys that were like that just in the John Beilein era. So congratulations to Trey Burke. That'll be a great night for Michigan. And this year, for Burke and Michigan basketball fans, and this season, the anticipation for this season is I don't know about like no other, but it's up there, as this team is poised and is chock full of talent in Dusty May's second year. So look forward to that. Also wanted to say, before we talk about Wisconsin, congratulations to the Detroit Tigers, who move on in the Major League Baseball playoffs, virtue of beating the Guardians the other day. And they're able to get through. And now here we go. Good to go. I said the other day, yesterday, and it happened. And so I think the first question somebody asked me today, so the Tigers off the hook, from the collapse? And I said, yeah, they're off the hook. And I know for at least 2 weeks, probably 3 or 4, that it was a daily type situation, like, oh, Hinch and right down Harris, Illich, whoever else you could throw in there, any offensive player, most of the pitchers, especially the relief pitchers, get rid of all of them. But you make the playoffs. That was a big part of it. You either do or you don't, and they did, which was something. But then they won a series. So I'm not sitting around charting a parade, but I am patting them on the back. So it's exciting, and nothing like playoff baseball. So congratulations to all the Tiger fans and the Tigers themselves, which they were in a full-on collapse, but they were able to survive it. And I know it feels a little weird, congratulating them when, for a month everybody was lambasting them. But, the difference is they came through when it counted. So there you go. So that's it. Now we are going to get on to Wisconsin. How about it? And this game, as we sit here, we've talked about it a lot already. You've got Michigan ranked number 20 coming off the bye. There's Wisconsin. They have lost 2 times in the non-conference. They went down to Tuscaloosa and got beat pretty good by Alabama, 38-14. And then their Big Ten opener was at home, and they lost to Maryland. Got beat up pretty good there too, 27-10. That one was the surprising one, which made now this one tomorrow. I think I'm looking at it. I've got a 16.5 point spread. That was earlier in the week. I think I've seen 17.5 this morning. When it's like that, I don't think anybody's really worried about Michigan, about Wisconsin and Michigan losing to the Badgers so much. That this is what everyone's saying, because it is something. You say, okay, well, let's see what we can put at stake at this game, or what Wisconsin is bringing to the table. Well, they do statistically have the number 1 rush defense in the country. Now, 5 weeks have been played. It is getting at, I say at least 6 until you start taking those seriously. And then even then, if you go back and look at a non-conference slate that was super easy, you can say, are these really accurate? Well, I mean, Wisconsin did play Alabama. It wasn't, Alabama State and then, 2 easy ones. But I have seen a lot of people, I noticed that online, that a lot of people are tearing apart Wisconsin and their rush defense, saying that they're not the number 1 rush defense in the country, that they're fraudulent, and Michigan will be able to run all over them. And maybe that's the case. I mean, they did hold Alabama to under 100 yards, so that right there is something to me, without looking at all of the film and looking at every single game. They played a big time opponent on the road. They got rolled, but they did hold them to under 100 yards. Now, Alabama passed all over them. And that gets us to tomorrow. Should Michigan come out with their game plan, if they're sitting around and they saw what Alabama was able to do, and if you and I were watching the tape, and we came to the conclusion pretty quickly that Michigan should be able to attack them through the air a lot easier than on the ground, should then Michigan, when they're scripting their first 5 or 10 plays, have more pass plays called than run plays? Should they be setting up the run with the pass? And oh, by the way, Michigan needs to work on their pass game with their pass catchers to get confidence in that area of the game. Whether or not they're going to be good at it, it was one of the question marks before the season. Their wide receivers, their pass catchers overall, and they've been really uneven. There have been some guys that have had some games and some plays, but overall, is it the biggest question mark for this Michigan team after 4 games played? I'll say yes. it was, you could put the corner. That would be the opposition group. They'd say what rivals them as a concern. You can always put an offensive line there, but Michigan's offensive line performed well last time out. So it is the wide receivers. It is the pass catchers. Will Michigan, to me, so that's if I'm looking for something of a bit of intrigue, will they come out and I'd say, will they be pass happy in the first quarter to set up the run? Maybe you could argue if you were sitting around the table, the Michigan offensive room, and say, hey, yeah, Justice Haynes, this is Michigan. We're going to run the ball. We're running the football. We don't care. We're going to show them who the number one rush defense is right off the bat. F that. No, we're not setting up the pass, or we're going to jam it down the throat. I'm interested to see the game plan offensively and how they come up. Does it matter? Yeah, game plans matter. How you want to attack the opponent. They have a glaring weakness. If they have a glaring weakness, do you go after it? Like if you're boxing and you look up after the first round and the guy you're fighting has got a black eye and he's got do you then attack that? Boom. Or do you say, no, I'm going to start working the body? No, you keep going after him. So I'm interested to see that. I don't know. That's the intrigue to me. Will Michigan come out and be pass happy against Wisconsin, or are they going to just it's not the opponent, it's them. They've got their script and let's go. The second part, that's the first part of intrigue for me. If they come out and they're pass happy, the second part is just working the wide receivers and getting them some confidence in that area. It's not the fan. I mean, the fans are part of it, because if let's say the first pass goes to Donovan McCulley and zoop, goes right through his hands, it's going to be nothing but moans and groans. That does work on the psyche of a team. You don't want that to be a question mark anymore. You would like a game where you see the pass catchers, making some nice catches, having no drops, and then you're feeling like, hey, this team is trending up. Look at the passing game. It looked really good. Hey, you understand it's Wisconsin and everything, but hey, you're getting close to the midway point, something to work on. So, that's the second thing. Just getting confidence in the pass catchers and moving that forward. And so those are the two biggest things as I take a look at it for this game tomorrow. The third thing, if I had to go to, I think I would stay on offense and just go to the offensive line again. Is that the offensive line, which was a question mark heading into the season, was a question mark after the game against Oklahoma, but then they've come around in two games where they've played well. Can they put another game out there? Whoever the personnel is, whoever's coming back, can they go out there and then put another brick on there and say, hey, they have had now 3 games in a row where they have looked like a comprehensive a unit that has gelled, and that this thing looks like a strength, the Michigan offensive line. That would make you feel pretty good, I would think, if you're a Michigan fan. So there you go. Let's see what the people are saying about this game tomorrow. What the questions, concerns, things they're looking forward to, all of that sort of stuff. Robbie is thinking that it's a good game for the freshman receivers to show what they can do. I'm with you on that. I can recall heading up to the spring game, and it was all about Browder and Marsh. And then the bye week, that was the number one focus, was the drops. And then Sharon Moore, talking about working with the younger players, mentions Marsh and Browder. So there you go. That could be specifically those two. Now there's a lot of There's when you say freshman, you could put in then the redshirt freshman, but I think what we're really talking about and zeroing in on, is Marsh and Browder. And yeah, Trey Burke does deserve getting his jersey retired. There's no doubt about that. DVR in the house. He says Michigan has not won on October the 4th for 28 years. You got to go back to the 97 season. He says, win, please. That's an interesting fact. One that I wasn't sure of. I've got two friends whose birthday is on October the 4th. I'll quiz both of them. They're both Michigan fans, so I'll have to ask them, hey, when's the last time Michigan won on your guys' birthday? See what they're able to come up with. Dre is pointing out statistically that Alabama doesn't have a running game. They're ranked 108th. So don't get too fearful of the Badgers. Dre following it up and saying that Maryland, who also beat Wisconsin, is ranked 122nd in rushing. Dre following it up. Dre's been putting in the work today because he says Middle Tennessee is 133rd in rushing. Yeah, look, you have to go to something. And so, this is what I've seen. And so, Dre, you might have just come up with those numbers yourself. You might have seen the people online tearing apart, say, no, they're fraudulent. Wisconsin. And, it's a little early, but it's also, you do need something, to talk about when it comes into this game. So does Michigan, the question is, do they say, forget it. Let's pound them. They're not number one. Sharon Moore was already thinking of that because when he was asked about the number one Wisconsin rush defense, he said, yeah, they are ranked number one. Then he said pretty quickly, Nebraska was ranked top 5. And, Michigan tuned them up pretty good on the ground. So there you go. That's it. Eric asking a season-long question. I'm just admiring his photo here. It's pretty nice. What is Michigan's ceiling prediction for this season? Well, Michigan's ceiling, I would think, is a championship. Could Michigan win the championship this year? Is that the ceiling? I was ready to say it's more than just making the playoffs. So then it would be winning a playoff game. And if you're going to tell me that this team with Bryce Underwood is going to make the playoffs and then they're going to win a game and they're going to get into the Final Four, could they really then win 2 more? Should the ceiling be the national championship? That seems far-fetched, a little bit too much. I would put the ceiling today at the Final Four, the college football Final Four. So that has them winning a game or 2, right? I think they can do that with the way that Underwood has pretty much hit the ground running, or, however you want to look at it, his development, it is in front of what I thought for even a superstar type freshman. The front 7 for Michigan's defense looks like it could be a national championship type defense. So, and I like the safety. So we're talking about the corners. Can they get championship corner play on the defense? You have to ask yourself that question. I'm asking myself that question. Zeke Berry comes back, Jair Hill. They got some young guys in there. I'm not too worried about the defense. Offense. It's a work in progress. They're getting better and better. Underwood's getting better and better. You could feel a lot better about the offense if they just go out there and throw the ball around and look good in the passing game, continue to do what they've done in the running game, offensive line. That's my prediction, Eric. And I have changed since the beginning of the season. The beginning of the season, I was thinking that the freshman quarterback and questions with an offensive line and wide receivers, that they're likely on the road to, drop their first 3 road games. Now, luckily for me, I came around last week and predicted Michigan to beat Nebraska, even though that's not what my prediction was. And that's always hard to do. Make it sound like it's, some monumental task, but you feel like you're flip-flopping on your own prediction when you make one and then you've gone perfect, and then you're like, I'm changing what I had to say. You can't, continue to just flip-flop all the time, but that was a little bit of a flipper. Aaron's talking about some speed in space. Cody's talking about Michigan running all over the number 1 rush defense. Here's Mr. Martini going to the question. Okay, let's make the transition to Fred Moore. Fred Moore question of why he's not seeing the field was answered yesterday. Well, why he wasn't seeing the field to me was Channing Goodwin and Samaj Morgan. Obviously McCulley, those 3. And then who are the next wide receivers after those 3? Well, who were they? Let's put some of these up here. I put a list of the catches on the season so far. So McCulley, Morgan, and Goodwin. You had Klein, who's been hurt, but he had the really good opening game. And then, Justice Haynes in the screen game has caught 9 balls. Not a whole lot of catches after McCulley, Morgan, and Goodwin at wide receiver. But if we were going to say who's next on the list for Michigan, it was not Fred Moore. It was Marsh, and it was Kendrick Bell. And I think what Fred Moore did, the first thing that I thought of when I saw Fred Moore transfer, I said, why would he do this now when he can't transfer anywhere and he's just losing this season? Well, he's played so little that if he goes now, that he can redshirt, and so he will still have 2 years. So he has looked, even though we're looking at the wide receiver room like these guys really need to pick it up, they're a question mark. He has been through the spring and fall and now through this first month of the season, and he has yet to been able to get any significant playing time. He can't crack the lineup, and he can't get any targets. He doesn't even have 1 catch, and he decided to just say, peace, I'm out. I'm out of here. I'm not going to try to fight this season through and try to get out there with this Michigan team. You can make an argument that he, if you were his friend, should the argument have been to Fred Moore, hey, hang in there. The wide receiver room is, up in the air. In a month's time, who's to say you can't get out there and not only be a contributor, but be a starter? You might have been able to say that to him. But also, he might say, I'm just not going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to get enough playing time because of the talent that's there. So, that's kind of an easy way to say things. There's more could say completely different, but he is now off the team, and it's not good news for Michigan because you look and see him how many receivers they have. He's let's just say he's more than alive. A live body, that they have out there. He could have been someone that you never know how things work with injuries and whatever else, and he does have some experience that he could have been someone in the second half of the season that could have emerged. And heck, yeah, who's really, you really want to sell me that McCulley's Michigan's number one wide receiver? All right. He hasn't been great. Has he been good? I don't even know. He's been okay. I'm not trying to knock him. I mean, it sounds like I am, but I'm not. He's just been okay. I would have thought that he would have been better, but he's been okay. So I'm not knocking him too much. Morgan, he's the one with the drops. He's the one that is an adventure on punt return. He's someone who you get him a couple plays and you think, man, this guy's a game breaker. And then you're thinking, oh, man, they should bench him. And this can all happen inside of, a couple series. So, he's a live wire in terms of, trying to predict on what he's going to be able to do. One time it's this, the other time it's, he should be over on the bench. He's a great playmaker. He can't concentrate. He's dropping the ball. He's someone who's dangerous and can take it to the house. He's going to cost Michigan with a big gaff on special teams or a drop. That's where Morgan's at. I'd like to see, him tightening things up. It's his third year. But this is, kind of who he is, I think. It's hard for me to say, oh, well, he'll show improvement. I can't say that. Not when you're in your third year. Goodwin, I could say that. He's young. It was his first time out there. Let's see. But just like when you go back to last year or the year before, the tight end position, when they had Colston Loveland, you didn't need, a receiving core that was 4, 5, 6 deep. Loveland, he was their best receiver last year. Last year, you like to throw out, but you even go back the year before, the tight end position at Michigan, and it's played out to where we're sitting here. They need, really two. You'd like to have more for sure. But Marlon Klein might be their best receiver. Hogan Hansen, been hurt, might be in the top 3. Hansen and Klein and McCulley could be their 3 best. In fact, if you ask me the question on the feedback, hey, who do you think are their most reliable / best? Who are the top 3 most reliable, best pass catchers on this team? I would say McCulley, Klein, and Hansen. Those are the 3 that I would say. I don't even know if you can make an argument for anyone else. You're going to say Morgan? I've just gone over him. He can't trust him. You're going to say Goodwin? Can't trust him. You're going to say Marsh? You're just going on a 1 catch and an end around? You're going to go on Browder? What are you going to, I don't know. What's the case for Browder? He's tall? That he hasn't dropped any? Well, he hadn't played. That's not a great case, but that's just where it's at when it comes down to the receivers. Great to see JP in here, looking good. Hope you're doing well. He's JP is Jason saying, hope all is well with the family. And Penny is my goat. I got to say that things are going well with Penny. I'll give you 1 minute on the goats. 2 months ago or so, they, I would leave them. Generally, I'd get out in the summertime, even in the spring, where 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd let them out of their barn, and then they would just stay out all day until they got, the sun was gone. Then I'd put them back in their barn and lock them up. What I have found out is that they can't have that much freedom. They need if I just give them 3 or 4 hours, they stay around the house. I give them 9 or 10, they just start wandering off to the neighbors elsewhere. And I just got lucky with that. We had a golden retriever puppy last year. She was chasing around the goats. So it wasn't a good mixture of just having them all out there. So I wait, but it has worked out very nicely where they're I don't know. I say they're obedient. They just stay around the house now. I didn't know much about goats prior to getting these goats. We've had them for 6 years now, so I'm still learning. Let's see. Akio says the Wisconsin defense will be very welcoming to Hansen and Klein tomorrow afternoon. See any reason to be say anything about that? Hadley, what's up, Hadley? Wisconsin, #1 in rushing defense. Not after tomorrow, says Hadley. Here's someone else saying that Michigan will go over 200 total yards, and the Badgers will have their third game in a row not scoring more than 10. 35-10, says Hadley. That's pretty close to my score there, Hadley. We've got one Smith from a H. Smith to a C. Smith. Jake Gennara has played very well in Norton's absence. Does he keep the job? I say yes. I say why not? There's nothing against Norton, even though what I'm saying sounds like it's against Norton. Norton's here for, he could be here for 2 years, but Gennara is a freshman. And so Gennara he could take that spot and he could lock it down for the next, 4 years or 3 after this year. And with Norton, I do think he has another year, but when it's up in the air and the recency is just the last game that Gennara stepped in there and was fine, if not good, then why not go with it? Say, hey, if you're just hoping as a fan, I'd say hoping as somebody watching it, what is best for Michigan football? I think what would be best if it's Gennara stayed over there at right guard and was there for the next 3.5 years. Don't worry about it. And he'd get better and better and better. So I'm with you, C. Smith. Mark says maybe Harbaugh can lend his receiver consultant to Michigan. His receivers made remarkable improvement this year. Well, Quentin Johnston has that Harbaugh knows pretty well from the Fiesta Bowl, who scored that big touchdown against Michigan, and Harbaugh. He has. And Keenan Allen coming back has been pretty good for them as well. Who is his receiver consultant? I was going to say, who's his wide receiver coach? His wide receiver coach since 21 was Ron Bellamy. Oh, you would think that. I noticed someone today over on the Maize and Blue Review, and this is a good time to tell you that you should subscribe to the Maize and Blue Review by going to on3.com, On3 Rivals, and then it says subscribe. You see Maize and Blue Review, and you just double tap it. You get in, and the next thing you know, you are good to go, and you get instant access, and you're in discussing Michigan football with everyone else. I noticed today somebody was talking about the wide receivers, and they didn't even mention Ron Bellamy. They're like, well, Soup will get him. Soup's the consultant. Eric Campbell. People are passing over Ron Bellamy. Ron Bellamy. Let's see some development from the wide receivers. So, yeah, big game for the receivers, big game for Ron Bellamy. I say things can change really quick because I'll take you back just to week 2. And I don't want to say people were all over Grant Newsome, but he certainly was getting mentioned like he needs to step it up. The offensive line has to develop, and it's on him. Well, since then, the offensive line has played better. You don't hear people bad-mouthing Grant Newsome. In fact, it's the opposite. So for Ron Bellamy, if Michigan's receivers can have a nice game tomorrow, I don't think it's, you're ready to throw a parade like, oh, Bellamy, get off his back. But if the receivers do have that nice game, and then, they're showing improvement, and you see, well, look at we understand. I was going to say we understand good wide receiver play, but I mean, we're sitting around talking about blocking. I mean, we understand when somebody's catching the ball, running it, and making plays. If Bellamy could stack 2-3 games with his receiving core, I would imagine that this team would be winning some ball games, and people, it could be by the end of October saying, you know what? Coming out of the bye, there's a big question mark on Bellamy, and look at him now. I think everybody's rooting for that. So there you go. Mark thinks Michigan needs to put big money into receivers consultant. Something is amiss. He mentions Quentin Johnson and that he has had a huge turnaround with a new consultant. Well, you could say, as we sit here right now, it's coaching. They did bring in a big, I don't know how much, say big money receiver consultant. They did bring in Eric Campbell, veteran wide receiver coach, former Michigan DB, former Michigan coach. They did bring him back as a consultant. They have also done well recruiting-wise. They've got Zion Robinson, Travis Johnson, and Jaden Pyle coming in, and they were in on the kid that ended up going to Syracuse, who was one of those superstars, had him, and then he slipped through their fingers. I think if there was money, I think I feel like put the money in the pocket of the number one wide receiver in the transfer portal. And then, they're going to have to look at, so it's coaching and personnel. So personnel-wise, they've got 3 coming in next year. Can they also then hit the transfer portal? They got all of these guys, C.J. Charleston, Peyton O'Leary, Anthony Simpson. We haven't seen hide or hair from these guys. That was great. Oh, Simp is quick. And, O'Leary, living off the O'Leary's living off the 22 spring game and maybe the 23 spring game and one catch on his back against Ohio State. Can we put some other guys in there as well? Kendrick Bell, Amarian Stewart, Jacob Washington. None of these guys. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of wide receivers. Maybe tomorrow we'll see some. So there's the personnel. But yeah, either coaching or personnel. At this point right now, I'm saying it's personnel. Detroit is saying that Marsh and other freshmen are probably outplaying more. Yeah, I think everybody's outperforming, outplaying more. More can't get no run. You're not getting any PT. You're either sitting back and saying, you know what, I'm not getting a fair shake. Moore could have thought that. I don't know. Or, man, these guys are just better, and I'm not getting any run. One of the two. I'm not getting any run, and it's not fair. I'm not getting any run, and these guys are better than me. Whichever it was, he's gone. Dave says he was on a team of wide receivers who can't catch and couldn't sniff the field. Someplace else might be better for him. It's talking about Mr. Moore, Fred Moore. a lot of Moores on this. Sharon Moore, Rod Moore, Derek Moore, Fred Moore. Too many Moores. No more Fred. Mark says we can't catch punts since Jay Harbaugh left. I don't know. I mean, Samaj was returning punts when Jay Harbaugh was here, right? Jay Harbaugh was the coach when Thaw. I saw Jake Thaw. I was watching Colorado play. He doesn't play for Colorado. He had to play for the other team. Jake Thaw with the catch. Did Jake Thaw muff that one down to the 1 inch line? I mean, he almost cost. I say, it worked out. Jay Harbaugh is a good special teams coach. Here's Mar. Look at, let's boil it down. All I want for Christmas is Michigan wide receivers to catch the ball and help Bryce. That's it. That's all you want for Christmas. You know what, Mar? That's all I was going to say that's all I want for Christmas. But if I could ask for something for Christmas, I think I'm with you. That's all I want. Help Bryce Underwood out. He could help himself out maybe with some more catchable passes to the receivers. But yeah, building some momentum there where they feel good. Let's imagine. I say, can we imagine? Yeah, let's imagine it. Michigan with sure-handed, sticky finger receivers and pass catchers with the running game that they have. That ceiling that we've been talking about, they need it. Are they capable? I'm not ready to mock them with a shirt or anything, Dave, until after tomorrow. They should watch Amon-Ra. Well, yeah, they should. All right. We're here. Now, this is the real Rip Star. It's good to see him on here. And a quick aside before we get to the prediction. Rip is a chicken wing and blue cheese guy just like me. And it was about a month ago, Rip, I haven't seen you here for a while, that my wife brought home some chicken wings, and then I went for the blue cheese, and it wasn't a blue cheese dip. It was just blue cheese. She said, they didn't have blue cheese. And I said, what kind of chicken wing place doesn't have blue cheese? She said, they just had blue cheese. She said, you can make your own. And I said, really? So I looked it up. It said, put a little sour cream, put a little mayonnaise and a couple onion salt, garlic salt, a little bit of that. So I just threw it together pretty quick. And guess what, Rip? I was thinking, man, I wish I knew Rip Star's number. I would call him up. I tried it, and I said, this is better than any blue cheese I've ever had anywhere. Why would I ever buy any ever again? When I just made this up in 5 minutes, not knowing what I'm doing, and thought that it tasted great. So I wanted to tell you that, Rip. Make your own. Forget the store-bought blue cheese. Now we're just taking a shot at the wideouts. They have more drops than Dippin' Dots. Mark is talking about Washington being 8.5-point favorite on the road. That's going to be a tough game for Michigan. Even at home, if we get past USC. Yeah, look, USC is going to be tough. Washington could be tough. Maryland could be tough. I mean, all those games are ahead. Sure. I kind of like Maryland in the points tomorrow. That's it. Let's see. Bo is a Badger fan. What's up, Bo? When's basketball season? It's coming around. Who's going to be your coach next year? Are you done with Fickell? Oh, yes, Bo's not in a good place. Obviously, he's hoping that Michigan drops 100 on him, and that could spell the end of Fickell. Dave has got a 38-10 prediction. Fickell is on the hot seat already, according to Ripstart. I would agree with that. Bo, the Badger fan, not in a good place with the Badgers. He accidentally put a V in front of the B. Bo says everyone is predicting a blowout, but you barely beat the Cornhuskers. That's true, but if it, we play the if and but game, but if Biff was listening to whoever was up in the booth in the final minute, there would have never been an attempt at a Hail Mary. That was coaching malpractice. That was a bad job. As much as I was on the postgame saying, no, I think that was all right. No. And that's the difference. You've got to be able to get that down. Now, you could say it's going to be different with Sharon Moore. Why wasn't Biff, who's listening to the guys up in the booth, why were the guys up in the booth saying, call a timeout with 13 seconds to go? Force them to punt the ball. So that's one. And the other one is a taunting penalty that, with the game over, that led to points too. Michigan should have won that by double digits. So the game should not have been. It was as close as the final score indicated, where it came down to an onside kick, but it should not have been. And Michigan is at home, and they're coming off the bye week, and with each and every day that goes by, Bryce Underwood is getting better and better. He's certainly getting better with every week that goes by. This guy is one of the better quarterbacks in the country already. I would not trade Bryce Underwood for any other quarterback in the country for this year or for the next 3 years. Michigan has the best quarterback, and he might not be the best quarterback right now, but I wouldn't trade him for any of those guys. I think by the end of the year, he could be. That's why Michigan is in a good spot to make the playoffs. I know he's young, and I know there's a lot of good teams, and they could falter and all. Yeah, sure. But it's one of the reasons that Michigan fans feel so good about where they sit, even though they have a loss, even though they had a close game against Nebraska, is at the most important position, they got a great one. That's it. Okay, we'll get to my pick. See, we get a lot of Bo has showed up, and he Mark says the season's not over. Get a consultant in and fix a prolific dropper. Yeah, I don't know. Who would even be the greatest? So if Amon-Ra St. Brown, is it his dad? Is it him? Is it one of his coaches because he's great? I think this is just doing it, going over. I know coaching, when you see it, it can really have an effect. But talking about dropping some bag on some, I don't even know if there is such a thing. If there's some guy sitting out there saying, I'm a prolific wide receiver consultant that fixes wideouts drops. You know who might be right under their nose and on the field with Michigan right now? You know who it is, Mark? The sure-handed flag man, Jason Avant. Great hands. Former Michigan wide receiver. Maybe they asked Jason Avant, hey, Jason, Forget all that pregame stuff and postgame sideline stuff that you're doing. Great job securing the flag last year down in Columbus. But we need you to fix the drops. Maybe they need to hire, and I think they probably already have. You you had the great Greg Harden, who passed away last year, who worked with the athletes and got their mind, but mind in the right place. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's Sharon Moore not making too much of this, and not saying catch the ball, see the it's just going out there and getting it done with small encouragements, positive reinforcement. I don't know. It is. I don't know if it's fascinating. It's something I'm going to be watching. I hope that it doesn't get to this, but I don't think you're going to see. Okay, here comes Michigan, and oh no, they are starting Andrew Marsh, and they are starting Jamar Browder, and Underwood's throwing to him right off the bat. Oh, and he's just peppering these guys. He's just targeting them all the way down the field. Touchdown, Michigan, Browder, what a catch. I don't think that's the way it's going to be. I think it's going to be the same guys as we have seen all year long. The question becomes is if, and like I said, I hope this does not occur. Here's a little 3rd and 5 slant to Samaj Morgan. Oh, right through his hands. Does he grab some bench then? Does Sharon Moore then put the best learning tool? I know this, a lot of coaches do this in basketball. You're turning the ball over, things like that. One of the best learning tools is that bench. Somebody drops the ball tomorrow, grab some bench. That's what I want to see. Now, like I said, I'll say it for the 3rd time. I don't need to say it anymore. Hope it doesn't come down to that. Here's a question to all you super huge Michigan fans. We're going to play the what if game. Like we hope it doesn't come down to this. I said I wasn't going to say that anymore. Well, let's go. What if Morgan drops that one and he's not sent to the bench? What if Morgan drops that one and then the next series they throw him another one and he drops it again? 2 drops in consecutive series. Okay, that's the hypothetical. You are at the game. What do? You boo. Do you boo? Do you say, come on, Jerome, get him off the field? I don't know. What was that, a cat call? Even if you're a super big Michigan fan and would never even consider booing, a student athlete, and if it's the second drop, it's going to be the groan. Oh, a collective 110. Oh, I mean, you can hear it. You don't even have to boo. That's where I'm at. I'm ready for the game to start coming up with hypotheticals like this. Woo! Fred Moore has left the team. AT just wants to see a Michigan wide receiver come down with a contested catch before I die. All right. That's all. Bo would throw every down if he was a Michigan fan. Bo's in a bad place. He's going to opponents' podcasts, name calling his own head coach. Just not in a good spot. DVR's not scared of Washington. Mark is. Mark not only likes Washington, but he likes them to cover the 8.5, it sounds like. All right. Here we are. Andres He's going to punch me 3 times in the arm when we see each other. Unless he wants to go double or nothing. Andres, true or false? Here's the bet. No, I'm sorry. I will put our 3 punches in the arm on the line. I say Shedeur Sanders sees at least 1 snap over the next 2 games. 3, double or nothing. That's not a crazy bet. That seems like it could. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen for sure. I know you're hoping that Dillon Gabriel takes the reins and never looks back. There's the bet for you. Sanders gets 1 snap over the next 2 games. No, Andres does not want to. Doesn't want to get that bet in. All right. So it's not going to happen then. It takes 2 to tango when it comes down to betting. So I'm going to get to my pick. I've seen the picks. Somebody saying Wisconsin will not get to double digits. I do think Wisconsin gets to double digits, but I do have Michigan covering the 16.5, the 17.5. I have Michigan by 25. I have Michigan 38 and Wisconsin 13. So that's how I see it. That's my pick. A reminder that after the game, we will put up, we will do a post game from the field, and then we'll put it up on YouTube. So that'll be a lot of fun. Enjoy this weekend. This is a great sports weekend. Ferris is too busy making TikToks on the Tigers to join this show anymore. He's too busy in front of the camera now to come on and tell us how many days it's been since Ohio State beat Michigan in football. He's breaking down, who should Scooble start game 2 and game 5, what AJ Hinch's lineup is going to look like Saturday night out in Seattle. Will Riley Green, who had such nice numbers against the Mariners in the regular season, will he pick it up? What the bullpen will look like? Will Wenzel Perez bat in the 3-hole game 1? All interesting things, but, Ferris, we appreciate you being here, for the start of the show. Ferris likes Michigan. He has Wisconsin 11, Michigan 32. Why? Because I like weird numbers. Not only do you like weird numbers, Ferris, which I can appreciate, but you also like putting the score down weird. If you were ever going to make a prediction and you were sitting in it and you would say, hey, Ferris, who do you like? Wisconsin 11, Michigan 32. You'd say, what? Why did you put Michigan first? That's my little tip for you. Put the winning team first, followed by the other team. It's like what there used to be a running gag. Will Tiemann, who does he do both? No, he doesn't do football. Maybe he fills in for Blaha. Blaha is doing Pistons, but he does basketball. But Will Tiemann's always like, well, Wisconsin 11, Michigan. He'll say something like, Wisconsin 11, 32, Michigan. And you're like, what? You can't understand him. Maybe he's fixed that over the years. I don't know. Ferris says Wojo does that. Well, if Wojo does it, he's probably doing it is because he lost a bet or something. I can't imagine that he would do that, but maybe. Ferris thinks it adds to the drama. Well, I don't know. It's confusing to me. I don't know. Look, I just give you my advice. Do what you do to stand out, and maybe some people will be like, "Hey, that's funny." That's interesting. How Ferris will put some wild numbers up there, and I can't really tell what's going on, but I kind of can do it. But he does everything ass backwards, but he's funny. I like him. Maybe it's working for you. That's it. Okay, here we go. Dennis, I'll double or nothing on your points. I'll take Michigan minus 25. Yeah, we're going to have to find something else because I don't like to put Michigan in bets any way it goes. Certainly not where I would have to, hope for Wisconsin or something. I'll double or nothing on your points. I'll take Michigan minus 25. No. That's it. Tigers do strand a lot of base runners. There's no doubt about that. DVR said it just adds to the annoyance. I agree. Sometimes, here's my tip for you. And Ferris is becoming a big TikToker. We keep it simple. We don't have to go too. Let's whatever you're talking about. We do like to hear your thoughts. We want your opinions. We like being entertained. But and you got to be yourself. Keep it simple. That's what I would say. Be honest. But if honestly that's how your brain works, you're like, this is funny. Then do it. That's it. All right. I'll be what? No alarm clock needed tomorrow. Up, down to the stadium. Let's go. Michigan 38, Wisconsin 13. Talk with you after the game. Everybody have a great weekend. Goodbye.